60 years ago, on a typical Sunday morning, a young student at Wheaton College walked a few blocks from campus to preach to a congregation meeting in this old brick building. It was the first church he ever pastored. The church was called the Tab. The student's name, Billy Graham. From the beginning of his ministry, Billy Graham knew what it took to be an effective communicator. He not only articulated the message of the Bible, he bent over backwards to make reference to what was going on in the world. He knew that if he could demonstrate a knowledge and an interest in what was on the minds of his listeners, they would be more inclined to pay attention to what was on his mind. Billy would begin his sermons talking about news events, world leaders, Hollywood celebrities, best-selling novels, sports, the weather, the latest fads. And do you know where Billy learned this secret? From the master teacher himself. As you read through the Gospels, you'll be amazed at how Jesus earned the right to be heard by talking about the kinds of issues that were on the minds of people. Farming, politics, history, religion, even the weather. As part of this year's 50-day spiritual adventure, we're wanting you to learn how to reference the culture in order to share God's love. And to that end, we want to invite you to begin to complement the culture. The dictionary defines culture as the concepts, skills, arts, institutions of a given people in a given civilization. To complement the culture means to make positive references about the goings-on around us, the arts, news, the world of sports and entertainment. For example, the CBS television show Survivor has experienced unprecedented popularity. Now, you may not be among the 26 million people who watch this program each week, but the fact that so many people do watch it makes it noteworthy. If you do watch it, you could comment to your neighbor, "Isn't it interesting just how much of human nature is revealed as the camera follows around those 16 castaways all day and night?" If you don't watch Survivor regularly, you could at least say to a colleague on the job, "The popularity of that Survivor show sure does say something about our generation, doesn't it?" Now, I really enjoyed reading Tuesdays with Morrie, and judging from the number of weeks that it was on the New York Times bestseller list, I'm not the only one. On more than one occasion, I have complimented the culture by saying to a friend, "Boy, I love what this little book has to say about getting ready to die." Now, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with everything the author says about life and faith, but much of what he writes about is consistent with what Jesus taught. You compliment your culture when you tell your hairstylist that you are amazed that the movie Titanic continues to be so popular at the video store. Obviously, it has to do with the curiosity that people have with what really matters in life. You compliment the culture when you make a positive reference to a sports team that you know your non-believing father-in-law follows religiously. You compliment your culture when you tell your kid's babysitter that you find today's rap music rather interesting. Can you picture yourself saying something like this? "I can't understand all the words of those rappers that I hear on the radio, but I'm amazed that poetry continues to be such an acceptable art form." Complimenting the culture is nothing more than commenting on what is going on in the world in which you live, in order to convince those in the world you want to win for Christ that you aren't all that different from them. When we learn how to affirm the world that they live in, rather than putting it down or judging what we don't like or what we don't understand, they will be more inclined to pay attention to what's on our minds and in our hearts, because we have paid attention to what's important to them. Have I piqued your interest? If I have, read all about complimenting the culture in your adult adventure journal. As Billy Graham is wont to say, that's all the address you need.